of an individual or the demonization of a particular group of people. Let us stop and correct ourselves, look to the purity of our own hearts, and say, wait a minute, keep the conversation high, keep it about correcting, holding systems accountable. This is not about demonizing individuals. That's nonviolence number one. Nonviolence number two, it's not even against anything, it's for something. We're not here because we're against a group of people. We are for the principles on which this country purports to stand. When America gets it right, it is a blessing on the world. When America gets it wrong, it is not a blessing on the world. And we, as a generation of Americans, are doing what generations of Americans are supposed to be. We are the stewards of those principles in our lifetime. Beyond that, the idea that this is here, not because we hate, not because we are against, we are for. The third thing is for us to do the inner work. You know, Martin Luther King said we are materially passive, but we are spiritually active. I think that the issues of income inequality, right? The issue that, you know, 1% of the people control 23% of the income. The 1% having the same amount of money as the 90%. Seeing the definite corruption, the disgusting corruption of our political system. We as individuals are tempted to be angry. We are tempted to be just so outraged by the whole thing. But the nonviolent conversation that I'm grateful that we can have, once again, that's the beauty of this. Just the fact we can even be talking about nonviolent principles, the holistic listening. Let's get that anger and that rage and keep it at a high chakra so that it's not just base, low level, like anger, anger, anger. Because if we do that, the only people we will convince are people who already agree with us. It is very emotionally self-indulgent to allow ourselves to move into any conversation from the low energy and low thought forms of the baser emotions. Rather, what we want to remember, as Martin Luther King said, you have very little morally persuasive power with people who can feel your underlying contempt. We have to search our own hearts for where we have contempt for people who do not agree with us. Martin Luther King said we must be ever active at arguing the moral validity of our points with the opponent, with the people with whom we do not agree. And so when a lady over there was talking about going to a meeting, she's absolutely right. And I hope, you know, the beauty of this is your decision to make what you do in Maui. You know, and that's the beauty of this movement. I don't live in Maui. You do. You'll know. My feeling in a general sense, as this gentleman said, you'll decide as a group. I don't think you should shy away from quote-unquote political issues, because in a larger sense this is political. Political is bigger than what the Democrats and the Republicans have to say. So any time in any place that you feel there's something going on in Maui or something going on in the larger federal conversation where you feel it is incumbent upon you, according to the dictates of your own hearts, to take a stand, you do that. Own your voice, refuse to shut up, be the people that you know in your heart you should be. But if this moves you into a city council meeting, if this moves you to march on the capital of Hawaii, if this moves you to, if it comes about, I don't know if it will come about, but it could come about in the next few months, that there is a general uprising and we all feel that it's time to march on Washington. I don't know. But the point from a spiritual perspective is not just where we march or if we march, but who are we as people if we do. We go with elegance, we go with sophistication.
Yes.
I always say keep it smart, keep it nonviolent, and keep it growing. We will learn American history, we will know our facts, we will know what we're talking about, we will not indulge childish, immature, or base emotions, but we will refuse to shut up, we will stay in there. We will know that the abolitionists, we are heirs to the legacy of the abolitionists, and the legacy of the women suffragettes, and the legacy of the people who were the civil rights activists. And just like them, as it is all the time, it's as Gandhi said, first they laugh at you, then they ignore you, then they fight you, then you win. Because even though now, as then, the status quo had the money, and the status quo had the economic power, as well as the business power, as well as the technological power, as well as the governmental power of their time, there was, in Martin Luther King's terms, cosmic companionship on the side of those who simply had a better idea, a more sustainable idea. That is how evolution works. That is how evolution works, that when the majority of the members of a system are displaying behavioral patterns that are ultimately maladaptive, that a mutation occurs. And that mutation never represents the majority. Do not worry about numbers. Don't worry about the horizontal axis. Worry about the vertical axis. Don't worry about getting a lot of people to agree with you. Worry about how deep and real and authentic your own conversation is. And this is a force magnifier. And then what happens is that the entire evolution of the species or the system moves in the direction of the person or the people, the members of the system, who are displaying behavior that is more sustainable in the long run. The fact that we want to treat the earth with respect. Hello. The fact that we want to treat our children with kindness and compassion. Hello. The fact that we care about the poor. The fact that you have 17,000 children on this earth dying of hunger every day. That you have 7 American children dying of child abuse-related causes every single day. The fact that 1 out of 4 American children are considered euphemistically food insecure. We are not fuzzy-brained. We are not weak. We are not ragamuffin. We are, to the best of our ability, using our own intelligence in the service of something that matters, that didn't just come up, that has to do with the longer arc of American history, the fact that the United States, the straying of the ethical center of American capitalism has strayed the way it has. German capitalism, for instance, is a very different breed. American capitalism is of itself morally and ethically neutral. It has, however, in the last few decades, strayed from that ethical center. It has formed a kind of unholy alliance with the government. It doesn't mean people are bad. It means that systems have gotten out of whack, and we're here to fix that. I don't know if it's correct to say we are here to fix that. We are part of a rising impulse in the American people, which is intent on getting America back to its highest principle and its highest vision. We should not be ashamed of this. We should appreciate each other. We should also appreciate that we live in a country where people do not have to agree with us, that freedom means we don't all have to agree. We should remember that no group of Americans has a monopoly on the truth, just like no human being has a monopoly on the truth. There are those who do not agree with us, who probably have some interesting points to make that we might consider. If we stick to these principles internally, as well as our commitments to the political and economic and social activism that needs to occur, then it is my fervent belief that something very beautiful will happen here. I've been saying for years that the country that needs a pro-democracy movement is the United States of America, and I'm so glad it's here. Thank you very, very much, everyone. God bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you.